let's play the game just to see where we left off. What we're looking at perhaps today is adding the rockets. The rockets are kind of interesting. Okay, so we can't do rockets yet. If I drive over it and I hit the fire key, nothing happens. But if I do the bouncing bombs are working. One thing I noticed on the bouncing bombs is, well, maybe I fixed that. I don't know. Yeah, one thing I noticed, let me just pick it up again, is if we shoot the bouncing bombs, I was worried that it wasn't turning in the direction it was firing, but it is doing that now, so we're doing good there. The shields are working, but we still need to do the rockets. So that's what we're going to look at today: is how do we go about doing the rockets? I think we already have the sprite made. Let's just make sure. Here's the bomb. There's the rocket. Okay, so we have our sprite. So now we can make the rocket. And what you notice about the rocket is it's a lot like, I don't know, it's kind of like the bomb, I think. So if we were going to duplicate something, maybe I would start with the bomb. It's also very much like shell, but let's try the bomb. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a rocket parent, and we're going to do that a little bit different way here. Just to save some time and some typing, we're going to duplicate this object. So a lot of people don't know this is there, but you say duplicate because we have an object that's very similar that we're trying to create, a parent object. So we say duplicate. And what that does is just makes a duplicate of whatever you had there and gives it a different name. Puts like a little 1 at the end. And what we're going to do is change that name to object rocket parent. Okay. So rocket parent. But notice it has all these things already populated in it because we copied that from bomb parent. So let's look at some of the things that would stay the same and also some of the things that would change between the two. In the create event, we set an alarm. Why do we set an alarm in the create event of the bomb? I guess we wanted to give it a limited range, right? It only bounces for a while. We didn't want it bouncing all around the room. Yeah, question, Jack. Sure. Is everyone logged in? Because we're going to throw the screens up there. Okay, so there's my screen on yours. You can minimize it if you like, but one of the features of the rocket, because all we did was make a copy, or we duplicated the bomb parent, and now we're in the rocket. We're in the rocket parent. One of the things about rockets is we don't want the rockets to have a limited range. These we actually do want to shoot all the way across the room. Because of that, we're going to get rid of this create event. We're just going to, that's the only thing in it, setting the alarm. So we're going to get rid of it. So just say delete event. Okay. Since we deleted the setting of the alarm, then we also need to delete what happens when the alarm goes off, because now the alarm's never going to go off because we didn't set it. So we need to delete that too. So delete the create event and also delete the alarm event. But then these things are very similar. Like this one, in the step event of the bomb, what they did was they turned the sprite of the bomb to point in the direction it was traveling. And that's what we need to do here with the rocket. So what we do is we say whatever direction the rocket's traveling, we want to turn the sprite so it's turned in that direction so it looks like it's going the right way. Okay. So that we stay the same. That stays the same. That doesn't change. And then what should happen when the rocket hits the wall? Well, we have to decide here, do we want it to bounce? Well, no, it's not a bouncing bomb. It's a rocket. We also have to ask the question, do we want it to destroy the destroyable walls, the walls that go away for a while? And so one thing that might be interesting is that these rockets can blast through the destroyable walls and still keep going. You can decide whether you want to do that. But for me, I'm just going to have it blow up if it hits any kind of wall. Remember, a wall 2 is a child of wall 1, so anything you do with wall 1 is going to happen to wall 2. This time, though, we don't want to bounce, right? All we want to do is create a small explosion and then disappear, okay? So where do we do that? Well, we can do that simply. So just grab a create instance. If you don't have one there, you can just type the word create here, and you want the light bulb one. And again, where are we? We're in the rocket parents collision event with wall. What do we want it to do? Well, we want to create a small explosion. They're small. And we want to make it relative to where the rocket is. And then the other thing is we just want to destroy the instance of the rocket. So when the rocket hits the wall, we want it to make a small explosion and then destroy itself, which makes sense because that's what rockets do when they hit walls, right? So that's good. Anything else with the parent of rockets? Again, with the parent, you want to put things in that is the same for both, so you don't have to put it in there twice. Okay, so now that we have the parent, we can create the children of rocket parent. To do this, I want to do the same thing. I want to take object bomb 1, and we're going to duplicate that, right? Duplicate that, and then change its name to object rocket 1. This is the rocket that comes out of tank 1. Okay. So clearly it's got the wrong sprite because this is supposed to be a rocket. So we need to change that to the rocket sprite. Don't choose this one. The rocket one is, where is it? Here. Choose that one. Another thing that's really important to change is the parent. The parent is not the bomb parent, it's the rocket parent. So go in here and change that to rocket parent. Ooh. Where is that? Rocket parent. Here it is, rocket parent. Now, as soon as we do that, we get these events, like the step event and collision with the wall event. We get those for free from the parent. See, they're grayed out. It's just telling you, yeah, you're inheriting that from the parent. It's got this little symbol there. But what about this create event? What does it do? Well, in a create event for a rocket, it needs to find out where the tank is and then put the rocket there and then get the rocket moving in the right direction. So let's look if it does that. First thing that the create event does is it calls the parent event. But the problem with this is that we deleted the parent event. Remember, the parent event was the one that created the alarm. Okay? So we don't need that anymore. So you can delete that. The other thing about rockets is that it doesn't matter what direction the tank is pointing. The rocket is always going to go towards the other tank. So you can fire it, and it doesn't matter how the rocket or the tank is turned. The rocket's going to go straight towards the other tank. So we can't use this one, okay? Nor can we use this one. What we do then is, let me show you. It's kind of complicated. Type in the word point here. Point is what we're looking for. And then there's this one here, set point direction. You want to set a direction towards a specific point. Well, what is that specific point? And the answer is, well, wherever tank 2 is located. So I'm going to drag this on. And again, this is a new one, set point direction. Well, where do we want it to go? And we would say, well, object tank 2, this is rocket 1, so we want to go towards tank 2's x position. So object underscore tank 2 dot x. object underscore tank2 dot y. Don't say relative. This is an absolute position. We just want it to go towards the other tank. Now here it says set instance rotation. Here we'll just say we've just set the direction, right? You're setting the directions here. So you just say direction, okay? Because we want it to go in that direction. We just set it. And then this third one we can delete because we've already done that. Now, since these rockets are, they go towards the other tank and they go completely across the room, I want them to move a little bit slower to give the other tank some time to get out of the way. Because this is a pretty powerful weapon. It will go clear across the room, and then suddenly there's this missile coming at you. You have to see if you can get out of the way. Now, this isn't a heat-seeking missile. I've called it that in other videos, but it really isn't. Once you fire it, it just goes in the direction the tank was. If you move out of the way, it's not going to turn. Okay, we could make it a rocket like that. It's kind of fun, actually, but this is what I would do inside. Again, what event is this? This is the Object Rocket 1's create event. Okay, so you find tank 2, turn the sprite so it faces it, and go in that direction at speed of 6. Okay. The next one, object tank 2. Object tank 2. What happens when it hits tank 2? Well, I think it's just the same. You create a little small explosion. You check the other shield. If the shield is up, well, the shield is not up. Remember, the shield counts down from 40 down to 0, and if it's 0 or less than, then that means that they have no more shield, so you subtract 10 from health. And then destroy instance of the rocket. Okay? So all that's the same. That didn't need to change at all. That's cool. All right, so that's rocket 1. Let's try rocket 2. This time, instead of copying bomb 2, we're going to copy rocket 1 to make that rocket 2. So right-click there and say duplicate. Duplicate. And it says the rocket parent. It's got the right sprite. We do want to change the name, though. So we'll call this rocket 2. This is the rocket that comes from tank 2. So what would we need to change? Well, in the create event, here, again, when we're creating it, that means we're firing it, right? We're firing this from tank 2, so we got to make sure that we say tank 1 here. Okay, we want the rocket 2s to go towards tank 1, not towards tank 2. So find out where tank 1 is, and then set the direction to that direction. Also rotate the sprite in that direction, and then off you go. A little bit slower. Okay, so that's good. Now we've shot the rocket off. Now it's time to, well, this is wrong, right? We're in tank 2. See how we're in tank 2? This is rocket 2's. So it's not rocket 2's collision with tank 2. That would just blow up tank 2 as soon as we fired it. That would be bad. So change this one. Just say change event. And you want to change it to a collision with object tank 1. Okay, that's good. So let's look at that collision and see if there's anything that has to happen that's different. I don't think so. We create a small explosion. We check the other tank's shield. If it's not on, then we take 10 away from the other thing. Make sure this is set to other, right? Other. And then we destroy instance of the object. So that's pretty much it on the rockets. That's all you got to do to get the rockets to work. However, right now there's no way to fire the rockets. We haven't done that part yet. So how do we fire the rockets? How do we fire the rockets? Well, we use our secondary weapon fire button, and that's in the tank. So we'll go we'll do tank 1's first, okay? So we're going to tank 1. Here's tank 1. What's our fire button for the secondary weapon? It's control, right there, control. So, so we hit the control key. What do we need to do? Well, we say, remember, we've done this before, but we check to see if the ammo is greater than 0. If it is, then we see what weapon they have. If it's a shield, then you put up the shield. If it's a bouncing bomb, then you create a bouncing bomb. But we don't have one in there for what if the secondary weapon is a rocket. So let's do that one next. So take this if statement right here, if, and you want to drag it to the bottom of this one. It's super important to get the level right here. If you get it in the wrong place, it's not going to work. So it has to be right there so that both of the if variables are at the same level. Wow, what's all this? Okay, so there. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, so what are we asking then here? Well, what we're saying is we're trying to see if the weapon is the rocket, right? That's the one we're working on. And again, here we're just using our macro rocket. Yeah, so rocket pickup. That's the one we want. So if the weapon is the rocket, then what do we do? Well, we want to create a rocket. We don't want to create a bomb. We want to create a rocket. So let's do that. Here's create. So drag that here to the right of the if statement. And what are we creating? Well, we're going to create our rocket. So object rocket 1. And we're going to create it relative to the position of the tank 1. So we click both of those. All right. So now tank 1 should be able to fire their rockets. Now I would copy these two things because we need to do the same thing over on tank 2 side of it. So I'm copying those. The way you select both of them is you hold down the shift key and click on them. And then say control C. And then we go over to tank 2. And again, we're doing pretty much the same thing. We're using our delete key as our secondary weapon firing thing. And we're adding one more here. Let me just see where it puts this. If I select this one, and then I say paste. See, that's not what I wanted. It was almost what I wanted. Let me zoom out a bit. So you want this if statement to be on the bottom of this one. Okay, so right there. The assigned variable is after all the if statements. It doesn't matter what kind of secondary weapon they fire. They still lose one ammo, so that's why we put the ammo at the bottom. But here you have to be careful. We pasted this, right? It's not rocket 1, it's rocket 2 this time because we're in tank 2. And then you always take one away from ammo. Okay, so now we have both tanks having the ability to shoot off any of their secondary weapons, okay? Okay, so let's give this a try. I wonder if this will work. Okay, so I'm going to go find a rocket pickup. There's one there. I have rockets. And note I'm not pointed towards the other tank. But when I hit the rocket thing, see how it goes right towards the other tank? I don't even have to be pointed towards the other tank. If I'm way over here, and I fire the rocket, see how it goes clear across the room? Now, of course, if I shoot there and then this tank moves, then the rocket's not going to follow the tank. It's not heat-seeking. But at least it's it starts out in the initial directions correctly, right? So it goes beeline right for the other tank. Let's try the other tank now. I'm looking for a rocket pickup, and we want to test both of them to see here. Oops. Here. So I got the rocket. This is the other tank, tank 2. We can see its primary weapon and secondary weapon. And now I fire. I think that's the one I already tested. It's this one I want to test. Sorry. So now I have the rocket. If I fire using the delete key, it goes right towards tank 2. Okay. Boom. And I win. All right, so now comes the time. Okay, we finished all the, I should say this, we reached a milestone. We finished all the secondary weapons. Now, we've got all the weaponry done. The shells are done. Everything's done. Tanks are moving correctly. But what we don't have working yet is our view of the screen. Right now, the game thing doesn't even fit on the screen. It's too big. And so how do we get it so it's kind of like Mario Kart, where you have your own little window to look at while you're playing it, plus a mini-map. So let me show you how to do that. Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move with my map. I'm going to move this tank 2. I'm on the wrong layer. Tank 2. And I'm going to put it right there, okay? So that's an even starting point for both tanks. Now what we want to do is we want to do two things. One is we want to make a viewport in our user interface that allows us to see a part of the room, not the whole thing. And then we also want a camera that takes a picture of the stuff just around the tank, not the whole board, like we see here. This brings a rather interesting dynamic to the game, because you can't see the whole room, at least in its large form, like you were able to do it before. So what do we do in our room settings to make this work? Well, first you have to select the room. So we're on the room right now. And then we go here to room settings. And there's one down here. It's hard to see. But it says Viewports and Cameras. See that one? Oops. I hit the wrong thing. So if you mess up your layout like I did, let me see. I can't see it because of, click right there. There's. All right. Okay. So now I have the viewports on. What you want to do is, first thing is enable viewports. Now this is a really cool feature of GameMaker, because you can now control cameras. You can control what the user sees on what part of the screen very precisely. So what we're going to do is, for our user interface, we're going to have a box over here that represents Tank 1's viewport. Okay. So what's the dimensions here? Well, first we have to say it's visible. But that's too big, okay? We leave the X and Y position to 0, but then for the width here, we're going to say 400. And for that one, we're going to say 480. And what we get is a nice kind of little box. It's not quite square, but it's almost square. Okay? So that's going to be our first viewport in the room. Now, where do we want this to be placed on the screen? Well, these numbers would be the exact same. We would say 0, 0, and then here you say 400, and here again you say 480. But realize these are two different things. One is the camera, what the camera is going to take a picture of, and then the other one is what's the viewport on the screen where you're going to look at what the camera is looking at. This is just by coincidence they happen to be the same thing, but that's not going to be true for the mini-map. Now, our main character, or our main object that we want to follow with this camera is going to be is tank 1. Okay, so for object following, make sure to set that to tank 1. And then this is kind of strange right here. What do you set these to, and what do they mean? And what that means is you don't want to show the outside of the room. Say that the tank is way over here. You don't want to show this big black area. So you want to say, well, when do I start scrolling over so they don't see the black area when I get close to the side? So I'm thinking here we want to say kind of a large number, 128. Here too, 128. Why 128? Our grid size 32. 32 times 4 is 128. And now we have our viewport. Now if I run the game, you'll notice something really different when you run it this time. See how I'm all zoomed in? See that? Zoomed in. So that's what the user is going to see in one of the panes of the window. They can't see the whole thing, at least right now. They're limited to just this view. The camera's following the tank. And now we can see the numbers a lot easier and which pickup we have currently. Okay, so that looks much better, right? Plus, we also have the toolbar, or the health bar, showing really well too. Okay, so that's our first viewport, but we're going to have 3 viewports into this room for our. Let's take a look at this next one. We'll call this next one Viewport 1. We'll make that visible. But that's not the size we want either. Here, what's our camera again? Well, we want our camera view to be the same as it was for tank 1. So 0, 0, 400, 480. So let's do that. 0, 0. This would be 400. And this would be 480. Now, you might say to yourself, well, wait, that's the same as the other one, right? See how it makes the same box? There's 2 boxes there. But remember, if we say object following, it's going to move it instantly down here once the game starts. So here is where it's a little bit different. Okay? So here we had in our first one, we said X position 0, Y position 0, width 400, height 480. What we want to do is we want to have another viewport to the right of the first one on the screen. What position is that? Well, we would say, I would say this. Here's our camera properties. We want to make sure we have our camera properties for viewport 1. That's the second one. Here I would say, what would I say? I would say 420. Okay. Oh no, that's the camera properties. Here we want to stay there. Say that's 0. But here, down here for the viewport, we want to say 420. Sorry. So we're on the viewport properties. We want the viewport on the screen to be at position 420. Y position 0. That's fine. The width and the height, we want the same as the camera. So we would say 400 again. Here would be 480. Okay? And then for object following, the next thing, here we're following tank 2. So there's tank 2. And then what should our border be again? And we're saying 128 and 128. All right, so let's try it. And my hope is that we'll see two panes now on the screen. One with the tank 1 on the left and another one with tank 2 on the right. Okay, so this didn't quite work. This whole thing is symmetrical, right? And so we should have the same view, but at least we have two views. See, this one moves around by itself and doesn't affect the other one. Same thing with that one. Okay? And then I can go and find, you can actually see the other, when I find the other tank, there I am. Hey, look, it's me. Now I kill you. You die. Well, that's weird. I'm firing, but it's not. Oh, I got the wrong button. Boom. Okay. So now we have this zoomed in kind of window. And this is kind of fun, actually. But the hard part is you can't see the rest of the room. And so we're going to put a little mini map right here. We also have to fix where the scores are located. But let's put the mini map in next. But we still have a problem, though. Like when we start the room, I'm going to just restart it. They should look exactly the same, except they're inverted, right? Notice that we see the walls here, but we don't see it over here. This is supposed to be in the middle. Notice how this is not. Why isn't that in the middle? I don't know. I'm going to take a look at the old game. Here's the old Game Maker game. And what I'm trying to figure out is the views, right? So okay, so this is view 1 we're trying to do. So 0, 400. 420. So x is 420, not 480. So we're going to say 420, 400 by 480. Okay. So not that one. This one. Yeah, I got that right. Maybe it's my border that's wrong. Let's take a look at that. Look at the border. Oh yeah, here's the border. It's supposed to be 200 by 240. See those two? 200 by 240. 200 for the horizontal border, 240. Okay, so let's try that. I'm going to stop this. And here then, our horizontal border is 200, which just seems kind of odd. And our vertical border is, what is it, 180? Can't remember. I just looked at it. Now, 200 by 240. 240. Okay. We also want that same thing to be for tank 1 as well. So let's do that one as well. So again, our horizontal border is 200. Vertical is 240. Okay? Let's see if that works. See how they're symmetrical now? Okay, we've got them pretty much separated, and now we can drive them and go. Okay. So that's not bad, okay? We've got our two panes in place. Now we have to put in our mini map. So where's our mini map go? So we're going to put our mini map down here. And if we check the dimensions of this, first we want to say the camera, okay? So this is now, we're going to viewport 2. We're using 3 viewports. They're numbered from 0 to 2. We're going to say this is visible how much of the room do we want the camera to capture? And the answer is the whole room. So for width, we want to say, well, how big is our room? 1280, I think, 1280. And what's the height of our room? Well, it's 1280. It's a square. So in the camera, we want to make the camera huge, okay? So we can see that. Okay, so there's that. And then the viewport, well, where do we want it to place this thing? And we want a miniature version of this. Certainly we don't want this to take up the whole screen because you wouldn't be able to see anything else. We're not following any object at this point because we have the whole room in this little thing. What should be the viewport on the screen, though? And I think the answer is, X position is 355. Y position is 350. Okay. And then the width, can't remember. Let's look. The width is 120. Okay, so so here then say 120. And we want this little viewport to be square, just like the room is square. It's just much smaller. Okay. So we have our camera seeing the whole room, but then we have our mini-map squishing it down into a smaller box. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. So where are we ready? Yeah, I think we are. We don't follow any objects because it's the whole room, and then the borders don't matter in that case. So I'm going to run it. Let's see what happens. Okay, so here's your setup. You've got the two tanks. Here's your mini-map down here. So if you want to see where the other tank is, you can screen peek down here to see where they are and then go over there and then destroy them. Okay? So we have this mini-map, and as we update the room, see how the tank's driving around, you can see the mini-map is changing to reflect the tank's position. Okay, so again, we've got our multi-screen thing going on. Now the last thing what we haven't really figured out yet is the score here. It would be nice to move this blue score over to the right a bit. Okay. So let's do that, and then we'll be good. Then the game is done. So let's fix that. We got to move that over a bit. How much? I don't know. Let's find out what it's set to right now. So what draws the score? That's the controller. If we go to the draw event in the controller, there's a draw GUI thing. And we're drawing the scores here. First we draw score 1. I like the position of score 1. That's fine, 300. But here we said 360. I think what we want is something like 440. For score 2. Let's try that. So it's still not far enough away. We want these to be balanced, right? So I would say, oh boy, is it twice as far? We're going from here. Yeah, I would add some more. So then maybe 480. So add about 40 pixels. I'll push it further right. Well, it looks okay. They're about the same, right? I'm just eyeballing it, but you could sit down and figure it out mathematically. And now we have a score on the screen that looks nice for each tank. All right. So what that means then is we've reached another milestone. This milestone is what programmers all want to reach at the end of a long project. This is called code complete. We have done all the coding. There is no more coding we need to do. Everything, quote, works, kind of. And it's ready for our beta testers to take a look at, right? One thing we need to do is level design. A lot of people think when they're done with the coding, they get the code complete and they're done. And no, you just started. Now you have to do level design. Fortunately for this game, there's only one level. Okay, it's the same battle arena. But this battle arena is boring. Blech, yuck. Okay, I'd say make something better. Okay, so let's look at this one. Oh, this one's going to be hard to see. I can't zoom out on this one. But you can see some of the ideas in this one. Yeah, I can't zoom out. That's frustrating. Okay, so, but it has a destroyable wall here, and it's got kind of has something like this. But you want to make it symmetrical. Here's a place you can hide, kind of a little hiding place, and then in the middle here you have these blocks that they can't destroy, that you can drive around. So there's 4 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4 through the middle. And then that same kind of pattern here where the other tank can hide. And then destroyable walls in between here. There's also some more destroyable walls here on the edge. There's a destroyable wall there. So again, be creative in your battle arena design. Put some nooks and crannies in it so that the tanks can hide and find cover. But you don't want to make any of the alleyways too skinny. These tanks are really hard to drive. So if the doorways are really skinny, like trying to get out of here is kind of a pain, right? We're trying to get out. We can't get out here because it's too tiny. So the rest of the time I would spend just making your battle arena a lot better, and I'm going to do the same. Okay. And that's it. Then we're done. We finished the tank game. Yay! I'm so excited. Really, I am. I didn't think we were going to get this done, so we got it done.